So actually what goes around comes around. Your second go at the chairman of the Supporters Trust. I think we should probably start by saying probably regrettable circumstances that you have to come back in again, given the untimely death of Ken Malley.
Of course. We all wish that Ken was still with us and was the chairman of the trust. And yeah, it was terrible news earlier in the year. It hit all of the trust board quite hard. We'd worked with Ken for a long time, and he was a great guy and had a lot to offer. Yeah, very sad to take over in those circumstances, John.
A lot of ways since you left the chair, it's been a tough old year, but no doubt a year that you've learnt from and become stronger.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important thing, John, absolutely. If you go through troubles, you have to learn from those, you have to improve. You have to adapt, you have to evolve. And, the trusts have tried to do those things over a number of years. And, we've now got a clean slate. We've got a new board, some enthusiastic new members to the board, some returning people to the board as well. We've had our first couple of meetings with those guys, and it's a good team. People have got a lot to offer, a lot of new ideas, and I'm feeling very positive about the year ahead.
Now, before we move totally forward, let's just clear up one thing about conflicting issues about you being chairman and on the board, which were raised last time. How's that changed? Well, what happened last time is that some people felt there was a conflict. Personally, I don't believe there is a conflict. There's no difference with the chairman being conflicted as there is any PST director being conflicted. The only way you could stop that would be the trust not having directors on the football club board, which would be a nonsense. That's one of the things that we fought for. It doesn't really matter who represents the trust on the football club board. What's important is that it's three people that are keen to do it, have some skills to offer to do it, and can work effectively with the wider executive of the football club to drive the football club in the right direction. And let's face it, John, it's going in the right direction at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, and of course, ultimately, you go back to the trust board and have to report that anyway.
Yeah, of course we do. There's always certain things that might be going on at the football club that we can't share with the wider trust board. There's always business confidential information, things such as wages, other things around the numbers, of course. But generally, the full trust board are up to date. And if there's important votes, important topics that are going to be discussed at the football club, and there are items that we can cover in advance with the trust board to get their wider input, then we do that. That's what this is all about. This is what supporter engagement, supporter ownership should be about, and we'll continue to do that.
Now, there's always going to be a lull because the football club was saved, and you're concerned with increasing the membership number. The difficulty you have now is the football club is saved, and most people perhaps become blasé again. How do you increase membership?
Yeah, that's been a difficult thing for us in the first couple of years. Our membership jumped up significantly when the football club was in trouble. That's what most trusts see around the country. They do best when in battle times, I guess, and where we are, we're already significant owners in the football club. We already have significant influence in the strategic direction of the football club. And we have to find other ways to enthuse people to join. I mean, our membership's still strong. It's nearly 4,000 people. And if you look at trusts around the country of similar-sized clubs, that's a good number. But of course, we'd like to see it higher. We want more people to be involved. We want more people to understand why it's good to be involved in the trust, why it's good to support the trust so that it can do more work outside of the football club, around the community, and around football in general. So we want people to get involved. It's not expensive to join up. So do look us up on the internet and become a member.
Are you resigned to the fact that the shares will always be slightly under 50%?
I don't think we're resigned to the fact. We have to recognise that's where we are. It's still a pretty significant percentage. It's £2.75 million worth of shares at the offer price. It's nearly 50%. What people have to remember is that the people that own the other 51% are Pompey fans.
a lot of those people are people that you've seen around the club for 20, 30, 40, even longer years. People that travel around the country to watch the team. They're not different to us. They just happen to be able to put a little bit more money in. What we need to do, and one of the things that we're focusing on this year, is to start building better links with those presidents. We've co-opted Eric Colburn, who's one of the presidents, onto our board. We're having regular discussions with the President's Advisory Board. We're going to attend their meetings, and we're going to approach certain things more as a group of shareholders than perhaps two disparate groups. Maybe one day we'll get an opportunity to increase that shareholding, but people have to remember that there's also some very important protection within the articles in the shareholders agreement. A lot of reserved items that require 75 or 90% block vote. As long as we're still around 26% or over, then we can still use our vote to block any of those key decisions.
Nice to see Pam Wilkins come in as vice chair as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've known Pam for many years actually, and she's worked tirelessly for the trust, but also for other football organisations such as the Supporters Federation. She knows this city, she knows this club, she knows the fans, and she also knows football and supporters in general, and I'm sure she'll be a fantastic asset as vice chair. It's a great reward, and it's fantastic to see her there.
Now going forward, we have things like the Golden Share, so tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, the Golden Share, people talk about the Golden Share, and what does it really mean? That's something we've been trying to work on ourselves. We've looked at other clubs where something such as the Golden Share exists. I was talking to Brentford this week, in fact, and they've just provided me with the paperwork from their articles to say how their Golden Share works. We'll be looking at that. It's really something that says whatever investment comes through the club, we are able to protect certain things, and we need to define what those certain things are. You can't always say that you're going to have 48%. What you can perhaps say is that you want certain vetoes over anything happening to Fratton Park. Some things which are more emotive, such as veto over ever changing the strip colour from blue to red and white stripes or something. You know, it sounds silly, but some of these things are important to protect the history of the club in that way. But of course, there's more business-like things as well, and we're working with a top commercial lawyer in London who's offered to help us out on this for nothing, and he's got some ideas of how we might approach this. We're going to talk about it with the presidents, and we're going to be making a joint approach to the Portsmouth Football Club board at some point in the future as to how we think investment in this football club should work going forward, and also work best for the trust and the supporters of Portsmouth.
Must raise your profile having someone like Johnny, also recently a player, on the board as well.
Yeah, Johnny's a great addition to the board. He's so enthusiastic as well. You know, he comes bounding into the board meetings with handfuls of paperwork that he's prepared on the various ideas that he's working on, and he can't wait to get involved. He's going to be a tremendous asset, and he's already out increasing membership. I'm not quite sure how he does it, but yeah, he is a bit of a talisman. So we're really pleased that Johnny got elected.
And let's not forget the emphasis on youth for when you and I are in our wheelchairs, and mine's just out of camera shot there. You know, we're very much concerned with the youth going forward. Yeah,
youth was a big thing for Ken, and we want to carry that forward. We started to set up a youth committee. Scott McLachlan's going to be working with those guys now to re-energise it. We're looking to co-opt a youth member onto our full board. We want them to operate as well independently. You know, we're a lot older than them. All of the board are a lot older than them, and they've got different ideas. They're more in touch with the modern world, more in touch with the kids. And it's important not just to energise those youth in the trust, but a big thing for me is to energise those youth in the football club as well. You know, Johnny, you remember, you know, little bit before my time, but I was a few years later than you, being at Fratton Park, you know, the ages of 15 to 20, and there was a lot of people of that age there then. It was a big thing. You know, you went down there with your mates and people had fun, and it does worry me if you look around Fratton Park now that we don't see enough of those young kids coming in, because they're the future of the club. And
of course, there's also going to be big emphasis as we move forward on Fratton Park itself.
Yeah, that's another big item for both the football club and the trust board. The chairman of the football club has said how it's something that he wants to tackle alongside the PST and alongside the president's advisory group. We're lucky enough on the trust board to have our own architect, Mike Saunders. Mike is a self-admitting anorak of football stadiums, and he's done a lot of work of what could be achieved at Fratton Park. He's going to be working with trust members. We're going to invite some trust members to join his group in a consultative way to understand what the fans would like, what we think might be possible. It's not going to happen overnight, Johnny, but it's something that's important to us, and it's going to start now.
So I'd like to say to you, in 2 years' time, where would you like to be? What objectives would you like to have achieved? What would be the answer?
I think we've covered the three main ones, John, to be honest. It's a plan for the football ground. It doesn't mean we're going to have a new one in 3 years' time, but we're going to know exactly what we're doing with Fratton Park and be able to announce a long-term plan for it. An understanding of how future investment is going to work in Portsmouth Football Club, and alongside that, some element or some concept of the golden share for the PST. And thirdly, within the trust itself, increase the membership, increase the enthusiasm of that membership, and increase the involvement of that membership in what the trust is about. And actually, if I'm going to add a fourth, is that youth thing as well. Personally, I want to see more youths in Fratton Park and more youths in the Supporters Trust.
So in a nutshell, as with the football team on the pitch, it's all looking positive off it with the Supporters Trust and going forward.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people have to realise how much has been achieved. The staff of the football club have done a tremendous amount. And the Supporters Trust have been involved in that direction. We have a football ground that is more up together than it's been in years. It's been neglected for years, and we're improving it. Some of it from a safety perspective, some from facilities. All the toilets are being done, all the lounges are being done. We're putting hot water in. We've got new floodlights. We've got a new pitch. We've got a new training ground outside of Fratton Park. We're second in the league. Things aren't too bad, Johnny, and people should be very, very proud of what's happened at this football club.
Does it still frustrate you when you see the odd grouse and the odd grumble, and do you feel that's not really fair?
Yeah, of course it does. But that's football, isn't it? Everyone's got an opinion. That's why we love it so much. And some people tend to focus their gripes and groans at the people running the club rather than what's happening on the pitch.
Well, we'll follow your progress very, very closely. Thank you, Matt.